Hey Sean, how are you doing?
Good, buddy. How about yourself?
Pretty good.
Did you have a good week?
Yeah, been busy, but that's a good thing, right?
I think so. I've been busy too, but I'm not sure all of it was revenue generating stuff. It was,
Well, when you say that, I'd have to agree with that.
there's a lot of just managing crap in and out this week and trying to figure crap out, and I don't
Yeah,
know. Yeah, it seems
yeah.
like a crazy week. So,
Hmm.
you got any big deals going on up there?
Um, Nothing too much. I've got an office building I'm working on. And the tenants, it's like a multi-tenant building, like 15 tenants, and they are being a pain in the ass, like
Oh
threatening to
yeah.
hold up the sale. There's a bunch of attorneys leasing space in there.
Oh.
So that's been fun. Just trying to navigate that.
So, what are they doing to hold up the situation?
They're not officially, they're just threatening to. Um,
Oh,
they're just threatening that they'll whatever, put it in litigation, hold the sale. I don't think they have any possible way to do that.
yeah. I was
But
gonna say, what
it's
would
freaking
they?
the buyers out. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, what would be the grounds even? They've all signed leases,
right.
right? The leases all go with the property.
Hmm.
I mean, there's not much to it you can do.
Yep. I don't think so. But it's scaring the buyers. The buyers are wanting us to do a whole bunch of stuff to try and mitigate it, and my seller doesn't want to. So it's just fun.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yep.
I assume your seller has an attorney.
They do. Yep. So they're not worried. They just don't want to get involved. There's you
Oh,
know, like, oh, we're
gotcha.
about to get rid of it. So
Little puny residential side. A little over a year ago, we had a condo for sale, and all of a sudden we found out every time somebody would reach out to the condo association, that the condo association president would basically just unload on she said the condo association is non-solvent. They don't have enough money to do the things they're supposed to do. All of these people are in violation, including the condo we were trying to sell. But you would just get this whole you shouldn't buy in here kind of thing. So we finally had once we figured it out, because we had two deals fall through and we're in the middle of a third one. And in the middle of the third one, the lender actually called me and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that the condo president, association president, is doing all of this." And then we got a hold of all the emails and all the communication and basically had to send her a cease and desist. Otherwise, we're going to sue your butt letter to get her just to be quiet.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Jeez.
all the things that you're trying to do, condo associations are supposed to work for the tenants or work for the people who own the buildings.
Mhm.
And man, she was just blowing up deal after deal. And I'm like, something has got to be going on because these people were all jazzed and excited. And then we get in and they're like, I'm out. And I'm like, what? So, yeah, pain in
Huh.
the ass, right? Just,
Wow.
yeah, it was good. I needed to have one of those experiences on my belt. So I just checked that one off and said,
Yeah.
cool, man. That was awesome.
Well, maybe I'm just starting early. Maybe I'm getting myself in trouble early. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And when you're doing lawyers, they come up with reasons and ways to do all kinds of things. They're too creative
Yeah.
sometimes.
I almost feel like you need to have like we should have a law degree for us to be doing real estate half the time. As
Yeah.
messy as some of it gets.
Well, and a lot of the commercial stuff really is a bunch of lawyers sitting around with agents looking at them going, "Are you good? Yeah, you're good? Okay,
That's
cool. All right,
that's
let's
what
move
Chris
forward."
he says he has that fair amount. He gets them together, and then after that, he's just kind of there, honestly. Like
Yeah, you
there's a
let them hash it out. They beat each other up. They do whatever, and you go, "Just
hmm
let me know when you got it settled, and then I'll help you finish."
right,
finish the end.
whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess it's just you and I here right now. So we were going to do buyer agency and contract to purchase, which we've already been through.
Hmm.
Um, anything that, anything in terms of agency that you guys have seen come up in the last week in your business at all?
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to navigate off-market properties right now. I'm trying to navigate that. Um, and sharing them within the office. So that's been interesting. I don't know if that really ties into
Oh, I think it does because we have this conversation all the time. So you haven't signed an agency agreement with them, or have you?
Right. So I have gotten one signed, and I just had the conversation like, hey, they've already verbally offered me a 3% if I bring a buyer. And I just went to him and I said, hey, can we do a one-time listing agreement? Just put it in writing what we've already agreed to. That way I can more easily present it to other agents within my office and to my buyers. And then I just provide a list of names of these names right here. We have a listing agreement for 3%. And I've had one guy, one property owner, he signed it. The other guy though, he's like, well, but I want to be able to sell to any of my guys still. So he won't sign it, which
So have you tried an exception list as opposed to these that I'm going to
so
show it?
yeah, so I don't think I feel like that'd be the opposite direction because right now I'm providing a list of our people that we provided to, but they don't have like it's not it's not a situation of oh my cousin thinks he wants to buy it. You know,
Oh, okay.
it's they're doing their own like this guy he has it on Facebook that he's trying to list it on there.
Oh, gotcha.
So he wants to go sell by himself if he can, but we do have a relationship, so he's willing to pay us if we bring somebody
Gotcha.
type of situation. So I provided the opposite of an exception list. I provide a list of my people who I'm sharing it with. And I'm
So
saying
that
if
when
any of
your guys buy it, he'll pay you the 3%.
exactly. And then because you
Okay.
know, obviously the risk is if I share it with those buyers or if I share with other agents in the office, there's the risk of, you know, getting they cut around you,
Yep.
you know, if you have nothing in writing. So that's what I've been navigating right now, which has been interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. When and I'd have to go back and look at all the details. I don't know if you remember this from real estate school, but there's a non-exclusive listing agreement, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would anybody that you could show procuring cause for paid for, but it lets anybody other listed and do whatever. I don't know if that would help you. No, I
Okay.
don't. I don't think it would help you.
That's
Maybe.
no, that's a good thought. We word it as a one-time listing agreement, but it is the exclusive listing agreement form, and then we just kind of changed this one-time agreement
Right.
for these names. But you're right, if it was a non-exclusive agreement, and then it's just written, how'd you word it? If you were the cause for
You know, that whole real estate language that says if you're the procuring cause,
yeah,
which I think is always hard to prove too, right? That's the, how do you prove that I'm the reason that that
hmm
person got it, whatever kind of deal? And it also only comes to fruition if you sue somebody for the commission, which, right, then your
sure,
lawyers are paying and doing whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. We always talk about it a little bit weird too because technically none of the NAR stuff applies to you, like in terms of like coming soon, talking about it, any of that,
hmm
until you sign a listing agreement or a buyer agency agreement, whatever, right? So
sure,
prior to that, it's just a conversation. It's knowledge that you have. Because we always talk, hey, I've got something coming up. It's going to be in 6 months, 8 months, whatever the case is. But I don't have a list. It's not like I have a listing agreement at that point signed or
hmm
anything for it. And
and
it's not like I'm restricted from doing anything until I have it under contract.
right. Are you? What's the concern then in your mind of the risk of yeah people going around you, like you tell them about it and they go around you, which hopefully you know that doesn't happen, but people are people. Um,
Right.
and then also the fact you're in a way you are representing that property. You're putting it out there to certain people, but you have no official representation agreement. Is there any danger there?
I think
Uh,
so, a little. I think
yeah.
you're skirting, right. You're skirting that line.
hmm
Uh, maybe I'm not giving you specifics about the property. Maybe I'm not giving you an address.
hmm
Maybe I'm just talking about generalities. In your case, right, office building, 15 current tenants, da da da, that kind of thing. If you're
Right.
interested, contact me kind of deal. And then I would do what you're doing, which is sign a one-time listing showing whatever you want to call it,
hmm
agreement at that point. And you're definitely skirting both sides of it.
Right.
Yeah, I
And
agree with you. I don't know.
it's just kind of messy. If let's say they don't want us, because what I'm running through right now, if they don't want to sign that agreement, my thought right now is for this is for other agents in the office. is I'm proposing let's co-broker on the buyer side. Like I've already verbally secured a 3% offer. I know the seller. You have a buyer potentially.
Yeah, I'd make him an offer probably. Yeah.
Okay. So then you would
I'd probably
co-broker
make,
with the other
yeah.
agent and offer.
Yeah, I would, and I don't know if co-brokering is one of those things that I don't really know if there's really, I don't even know what it really is sometimes, right? You look at somebody else and you go, hey, you and me, right? We'll
Right.
share this. Because you could just have him write it in an offer that says that, you're gonna pay whatever and just put all your details in.
Hmm.
But yeah, you could co-broker on that side, and then what are you guys taking, 6%?
In this case, it's three because the reason these people don't want to list publicly do actual listings because they only want to pay a 3%.
Gotcha.
So we'd be splitting a 3% essentially.
Gotcha. What if you just got the 3% and you let your buyer guy get it from his client?
That's Chris and I've discussed that as well. Um, but if I don't have the listing agreement, so that works perfectly if I have the buyer. If I'm representing that buyer, then
Right.
it's super easy to do. But if I'm going to another agent in the office and they have a buyer and I don't have a listing agreement, that's where it gets messy there.
Yeah, and if
I
you
have no 3% for the sell side.
right, and if you let them make an offer, are you really selling a property you don't have a listing agreement on?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. That's been my adventure this week, along with attorneys in office buildings.
Um, what's the reason he doesn't want to sign the one-time listing deal?
Um, he's just worried it's going to tie him up and that he can't sell himself. And I'm actively having that conversation, trying to make him comfortable about it.
What if you
Uh,
put just that one single buyer on it?
so yeah, if we if we did write an offer, that'd probably be easier. So if I could go to him with an offer, say, hey, I've
Well,
got an offer right here, listing agreement.
even if you don't have an offer, what if on your one-time listing deal, it just had property, one-time listing, this specific buyer? So
And
you're not tied up anything outside of that buyer.
that's that's close to what I'm doing. I have a list of like 7 names. Like these are the potential buyers I'm sharing it with.
Yeah, I just wonder if you took it down to one
Sure.
and you said, and I would write one for every deal, right? If somebody was gonna bring you a deal or whatever, say,
Hmm.
I've already got a verbal from you. We'll just make each one of these individual and maybe make it time bound, like, what does he want? I mean, 15 days? He
Sure.
can't
Right.
contract, right? But just put all those objections that he has, just write all those into that agreement.
Hmm.
Limit the time frame, limit the name, the one time, all that language you're doing. And then I might just ask him, what else do you need in it for you to sign it?
Right. I'll have to try. Oh, yeah.
I
I'll have
mean,
to
I
try
know
that.
you're having the conversation, so
Yep.
sometimes it just takes, hey, what do you need?
Hmm. It's interesting, that's for sure.
The other thing that you might do is, do you know what kind of offer he wants?
I do it. He's got an exact price in mind. Yeah.
So maybe that's the deal, right? If I could bring you a buyer that's offering dot 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 whatever, and just have that conversation that way, and then just go to the agent and go, here's what the offer is that they'll accept. If your guy's willing to do it without negotiating,
Hmm.
that guy will sign in an instant, right?
Right. That's true. That's probably what it would be. So again, this is what's going on right now. So if an agent does come and say, yeah, we're going to offer this, then I would probably just go to him and say, hey, we're about to get an offer. Sign this
Yeah.
agreement for just this specific offer. This guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just you're just limiting if he's really worried about all this other opportunity that he has out there, right?
Mm,
If you restrict it all the way down, and then you just got to try and get the deal done. So to your point, if you know exactly what he wants, and you can just say, "Hey, do I have your permission just to share what
yeah.
you're after? This is your listing price. You're not going to budge off of it.
Hmm.
Either this price, or I stay on market, or stay off market on market."
Hmm.
So and just communicate that all in that in the deal. And then if somebody else looks and goes, yeah, I'm willing to accept that because I want the property, everybody's happy, and maybe he just says yes. I don't know.
Yeah. No, we'll see. Maybe I'll have an update next week.
Yeah, I don't know. We made an offer on a condo in Laramie last night, and Laramie is very tight market. List price to ask price to list price or to sales price is above 100%. And I still had a guy last night that wanted to go in $5,000 under asking price.
Mm,
He originally wanted to go on 15,000 under asking price because he said the place needed carpet and whatever. And I said, no, I said, you're not going to get it for that. He brought it
sure.
up to 5,000 less than ask. Um, and then basically was full cash, closed in about 2 weeks, give or take. Couple of inspections, no appraisal, no anything else. And the agent told me that they had another offer on the table, but wouldn't tell me how much, and said that they had, what did she say? Not the best terms was her wordage. And I was like, what does that mean? And she goes, well, it just means there's something in the terms we don't like. And I said, okay, that's all you're going to give me? Okay, well, we'll give you cash, close in 2 weeks, no inspections, but no appraisal clause. And if we can get inspections done faster, we'll close in a week if we can. And she responded this morning and said, cash is not king. We accepted the other offer. They can close in 2 weeks and they netted more money. And I said, what's bad about those terms? What do you even
Yeah,
calculate at that point? It was ridiculous. I don't even know. I think off the record, but being recorded, I think she may have the buyer,
sure.
which I can't change or do anything about, but I am
Hmm.
going to make sure that I let her know once I see it post
Hmm.
if she did have the buyer. Because then I'm like, because I would have countered the cash guy at least, right? They
Yeah,
just they just had another finance contract that they've been under contract for 3 months and fell out. And now we're a full cash offer, 5,000 in earnest money, all set, ready to buy it. Yeah, I don't know.
hmm,
You never know what happens with those guys when they sit down. So
nice. How in Wyoming, are you guys primarily 5%, 5.5%, or is 6% still
our,
kind of
our
standard?
our market here
Again,
is
not a set rate, right? Not a
not a
set,
set rate at all, right? But I do
right?
believe that the market sets those, right? If you're under the market, I don't think you get as much, all the right things that economics are supposed to do for you, that capitalism is supposed to do for you. But like that one last night, she was only offering a 2%
Mm,
on the other side. I don't know what she's keeping because we never see that. I
right.
don't know if she was keeping 3, but in that market over there, it's anywhere between 2.5 and 3 on an offer side. Two of the other properties in the history that I was looking at were a 3. The rest were 2.5, and then she was offering 2.
Hmm. Okay. My my soon-to-be in-laws, they're in Gillette and they're getting ready to sell, and they had an agent say she do it for 4%.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, and I kind of came into this conversation later, but I'm like, well, you're getting what you pay for 4%. Like there's something being cut there.
Right. And well, the question is, well, I would agree with you. And it maybe is just somebody who's not doing anything originally, right? Because
Hmm,
we've always been in the boat of doing a lot more for 2.5 than what other people do for 2.5 out there.
sure.
Because there's still a lot of agents out there for 2.5 in our market that put a sign in the yard, and that's it. No open houses, no advertising, sometimes not even great pictures other than off their cell phone,
Going,
right?
yep.
And you're paying the same 2.5. Yeah, I would be curious to know what they're offering out in the MLS up there. If they're only taking 4, if they're
Yeah.
offering 2.5, or if they're offering 2, because I think that may be a disadvantage for them, right, in the
Mhm.
market. And then, yeah, what are you really getting for the other 1.5 or two
Right.
percent in terms of
Huh.
selling? Because it's not 20 or 21 where you put a picture of a house out there and you're like, yeah, but it's got 4 walls, you can live in it, it's got water, sewer, electric, let's buy it.
Yep.
Got a lot more inventory on the market comparatively and a lot less people to buy, so
Jeez. Yeah, I'm
crazy.
trying to get them to talk to Julie. But we'll see if they they're a little bit set on the, oh, we only pay 4%, so we save all this money. So we'll see.
And you got to sell your house too.
Yeah, right. Yep.
What are in terms of commercial rates and stuff like that? Are we still 8.5 right now?
I think we were just talking about this. We're actually down. We're down to 7 now, even lower sevens for some. It varies a lot depending on
Yeah, for
the
sure.
property type and the who the buyer is. We've got some in low to mid sevens. Yeah.
What are you seeing anything with, so all of the people that bought, and fourplex is not so much, but basically rental property or multifamily property that had loans in the threes, 3.5s, that are now coming due for the rate change. Do you see a lot of that stuff going on the market now?
Not not a lot. Everyone keeps talking about that. Um, we haven't seen it yet, and that might change in the next 6 months.
Right?
Something we have heard is a lot of the banks seem to be kind of extend and pretend is the phrase we're hearing. They're
Really?
just yeah, they're letting those deals, those loans stay in place. Because they would rather keep getting their current rate
Then lose
over
it altogether.
having to foreclose on it. And again, I've heard this from a couple people, so I don't know how widespread that is, but I have heard that some lenders are choosing to just, oh, we'll extend you for another year rather than call it due essentially.
Right.
So I wonder if that's playing a role. I'm not sure, but
Well,
we
yeah,
haven't seen it yet.
I wonder if they're hedging their bet, right? Because with that market being at even high sevens or mid sevens, that's a huge jump. If you could get the interest rates even down below 6, 5.5, 5.7,
Right.
even residential rates were low fives or whatever, and then commercial was low sixes, you'd
Hmm.
probably have a huge difference in the amount of people that could still cash flow the properties.
Yep. I've heard that from a few different people that extend and pretend is the game this year.
Huh, I like it, man. We always make up something to go in there, huh?
Yep. Yep. I don't know. Not a good thing, I guess, but
All right, so since this is just you and I talking, and I'm trying to learn some things too, which I appreciate, what any tactics you've been using that help you buy properties? Anything that you're sliding into offers that have seemed to help you out? Any Dan Logan tricks of the trade kind of thing?
I'm the new guy still.
That's
Um,
okay. New guys sometimes think outside the box, right? Everybody else has been doing whatever, so sometimes you're like, hey, here's how I wrote it. Because like when I first came in, one of the other agents in our office, this was clear back when I was with EXP, but she had a couple that kept coming and looking at this property, and I was like, they've looked at it 3 times. They've got to like it. Why are they not buying it? Oh, I just can't get them off the fence. I said, what do they want for an offer? And they wanted all this stuff for whatever price, whatever, which we were amenable to. And then they wanted air conditioning in the place. So I said, that's all they want. And this was back in the time where we could get air conditioning put in for $3,500. I'm like, we would have conceded money to you for closing costs. If all you
mhm,
want is air conditioning, let's just schedule it and put it in. So we just wrote
mhm.
into an offer, and I took the sellers and said, let's make these guys an offer. And everybody was like, you can't do that. And I'm like, why? So we wrote an offer, got it accepted, and got it under contract. Now we've
Huh.
probably done that 3 times now, maybe. Two other ones of them got accepted. One other one got denied because they got another cash offer, or they made another offer on another house at the time. But yeah, I was like, I don't know, why don't we write them an offer?
Yeah.
Write it to a buyer? Yeah. So I don't know. I didn't know any better, so we just did it.
I mean, it makes sense. I'm playing that game on a lease property right now, so I'm having to write the offers to the tenants essentially, which has been interesting. But um, on the leasing side, the strategy I'm trying to use is since all these tenants want cheaper rents, right?
Yep.
So if it's listed at $20 a square foot, they want to go and offer 15. Um, and what they don't know, but what we understand from the landlord side is the landlord is looking at, well, 5 years from now, when I go to sell that property, the value of that property is directly related to what those leases are at, right? Like
Yep.
that's what it's worth. It doesn't matter what the building is; it's what those leases are. So while I do understand the tenant wants to pay less, we're actually better off proposing, hey, will you either give us a large tenant improvement allowance up front, like we'll give you your full $20 a square foot, but will you give us X amount up front to help us pay for the space to renovate the space? Because then their lease is still in place. So when they go to sell to the number they want, or will you give us 3 months, 6 months of free rent up front? And then after the end of that, then we'll pay your full rate. And that way the tenant, they get, they still get a discount of some sort. But then when the landlord, the owner goes to sell in the future, they have that rate in place. They didn't
Right.
they didn't give in and accept $15. So now the property's worth 100,000 less or whatever it might be. So
Right.
that's kind of a game we've been playing a bit is, you know, the tenant needs it cheaper. The landlord just wants to be able to sell in the future at a certain price. So let's negotiate something that doesn't affect the lease itself.
Interesting. What about, and I don't do a lot of leasing, so you might just tell me I'm retarded, but what if you did a step up thing? Like, let's say they want 15, right? That's what they
Mm-hmm.
want. You could
Yep.
even start at 12 and end at 20 or
Yep.
something over the course of a 3 or a 5 year, where you may even put yourself in a better position at the end with
Mm-hmm.
the building worth even more. And then it gives them time. And this is the same argument, which I don't love for 2-1 buy downs and 3-1 buy downs, but it gives them an ability to ramp up their business. And hopefully they're doing more business by the time year 3 or year 5
Right.
rolls.
Yeah. No, that's how I would usually present it. Is like that was my go-to was, hey, let's start out here and let's increase it. And now I'm just trying to add more
Tenant.
tools, more strategies. But yes, that would be one of those for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like
Especially
it.
if it's
Yeah, 'cause the
a new
tenant pays
business.
free rent. Yeah, because the free rent, because all you're really looking for is an average, right? If I
Right.
can get 6 months for free and average out at $12 a square foot over the
Hmm.
first year or 2 years or whatever it ends up being, yeah, I can live with that quite a bit.
Right. And even if that landlord, we have one right now, we're trying to sell the property. There's also a vacant unit in there. So we're trying to lease that vacant unit. So we're trying to plan out, well, whatever tenant we sign that lease for is going to directly affect what we can sell it for.
Yep,
So in that situation, we do want that tenant to sign that lease at our
yep,
full price because
yep,
we're trying to sell it at the same time.
yep,
So in
yeah.
that
It's
case,
always that
we're better
debate,
off
right?
offering some other concession so that on the sales side, we have that lease in place.
Yep. No, we try and get creative that way when we're trying to do concessions and stuff in regular real estate too, right?
Hmm.
All I need is this. Sometimes I can finance it. Sometimes I can go. We used to be able to go above if we knew it was going to appraise above, right? We'd ask for 5,000 in concessions, but we'd offer you 5,000 more for the house because we could finance it in. And as long as the appraisal came in, then everybody's happy and good.
Sure.
We're sort of out of those days at this point, but
Yeah. Huh. What's what's your strategy when you were talking about earlier? If you have a buyer who's trying to offer less, like it won't go through. They're trying to offer 15,000 less, and that won't take. How? Because I'm trying to learn how to handle this. How do you just tell them, hey, that won't work? Like,
uh,
there's no
so
point in writing this offer, or do since you represent them, do you still write the offer? What's
so
your
two
take?
two things I will say that I use, and then I say that even sometimes when I don't think they'll take it or it's too low, an offer in hand versus because I could verbally call them, right? I could always pick up the phone and go, "Hey, I got some folks. This is what the offer looks like," and I could have them say, "Now my guy won't take it."
Hmm.
Right? Because that's typically the response when you know what's going on in it. They go, "Nope, too low. We're not looking at anything below whatever." I think there is a distinct difference between an offer in hand that has money associated with it, and if I sign it, it's a done deal, than just like these verbal kinds of things we throw out sometimes. So I encourage, and it's my job to write the offer, but I encourage them if we can get an offer in place to do it. Now, whether
Sure.
it's going to be accepted or not, I always tell them so. And we typically have pre-approvals and those kinds of things and all that stuff for what they can pay most of the time for residential, it's more associated with the payment that they're going to pay than it is the actual dollar amount.
Hmm.
So My strategy has always been, and it worked a little better before when interest rates were cheaper, because we just figured out what the $1,000 rate was, right? So right now, residential rates being where they are, you're probably $6 per thousand that you finance. We used to be about $4 per thousand that you finance. So someone would say, I want to make an offer and I want to go in 15,000 less. And like today, I would say, well, that $15,000 different in terms of what you're paying is going to be about $90 or
Hmm.
whatever it is, right? You're $6 per thousand, 60 on the first and 30 on the second half. So you're $90 one way or the other. And if you want to buy the house, you're okay to pay the payment. We've already talked to that. You're approved through the lender. For you trying to save that $90, is it worth you not getting the house?
Sure.
Because nothing else matters if they turn your offer down.
Hmm.
And then I put in, because we use appraisal clauses all the time, right? Or kick out on financing contingency or whatever you want to call it. But I said, if you want to buy the house, you got to get it under contract first. And then everything else settles out. We're still going to negotiate repairs, still going to negotiate any other needs we have. And then we've got this appraisal clause backing us up that says that we're not going to put you in a house that's worth less than what you're paying for it
Hmm.
unless you choose to do that. So if we can get you under contract on the house, I know you're already okay with the payment. Would it be great at 90 grand less or $90 less? Sure. But it's not great if you don't get the house.
Right.
And then we let it shake out in the appraisal clause. And if we have to negotiate that out, we will. So we have a couple different options in there for that piece of it. But I just always try and stress that the most important thing in the world is to get it under contract. And then you try and find out, are there other offers on the table? If I can find out what the other offers are, I just always ask, hey, can you tell me the terms of your deal? What are you under contract at? If somebody can tell me, like if this chick yesterday would have told me she was full price instead of just, we have an offer on the table. Tell me the deal. I would have given you full price for it and
Right.
cash, whatever else. You tell me the terms are bad, and I'm thinking it's a financed offer. You can go 30 days, whatever. Because we always ask too. We always call the other agent and go, "What's the best offer for your client? What are they looking for? Quick close, this date, that date. No, what Tell me whatever, and I'll write it into the offer." So, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's kind of the approach. Is just that cut and paste whatever you need. I'm going to give you or beat. And then nothing works unless we get it under contract. And then if they still insist on going in less, I try and make it as little as possible. So last night we took it from 15,000 under to 5,000 under, and I just, with residential, it's a little bit easier, I think, than business. Business is a numbers game. Residential, look, it says, look, if it's the right house for you, just buy it,
Hmm.
right? For commercial, it's always, if the numbers work, buy it. If the
Right.
numbers don't work, don't buy it. And there's really no emotion involved or whatever. With residential, it's kind of easy to pit their emotions, I guess, how
Hmm.
attached they are to the house versus is it 5 grand? And I just say, is it worth 5 grand? Is it worth losing the house or walking away for 5 grand? And then what is that in terms of payment? Right now, that's $30 a month. So for $30 a month, you're going to walk away from the house and you're not going to have any remorse tomorrow. And they're always like, $30, is that all? Well, I love the house. Well, then buy the
Yeah.
house. Write an offer that buys the house.
Yeah. No, that's a good way of putting it. Make it more easily understandable for them.
When we always write, you take it and you tie it down to something that's digestible for them. They have zero idea most of the time talking what that $10,000 does to them over the course of a 30-year mortgage.
Hmm.
And they're not going to stand there and do the math. They're just like, well, if I can get it for 10, and everybody always thinks, right? Well, this market is, I can just offer them whatever I want. I can lowball anybody. Well, no, you can't, but I know you think that.
Hmm.
And then depending on how much you're asking for in closing costs and whatever. And yeah, and if you just break it down to a piece, and I will just tell you that most of the time they don't care about what they're paying, or at least after you have conversation with them, it's not that they care about what they're paying. They don't want to pay more than it's worth. and they only care about the monthly payment.
Hmm.
Those are the two most important things to them, residential wise.
Right.
For you guys, it would be, I'd be pitching income, cash on cash return, you know, cap rate, whatever was appropriate for that building or whatever the case is. Maybe a scheduled rate of increase over the course of the next 3 to 5 years, right?
Hmm.
Look, you buy the building today, you know that it's under rented. Within 3 years, this is the plan to bring rents up. We have to do this amount of improvements. And then you throw a dollar amount on the other side of it, and their
Yep.
eyes get big and they go, oh, that looks like a
That's
pretty good deal, right?
that's what we try doing. Yep. Big, rather large Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's and putting in the appreciation and what you're going to get for depreciation every year, and what you put all
Hmm.
those things together, and you say, yeah, this is a pretty good opportunity to have a building, and not everyone is under rented, and not everyone needs improvement and whatever and that kind of stuff, but especially on those ones, because all they care about is the dollars, right?
Yep.
They care about the dollars and that they don't get hurt, that the building's not going to become a liability for them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I do like that about commercial. It's less emotion, I think. And
Well, so a guy
yeah.
told me one time that that's the job of a realtor is to take all the emotions out of it. It's
Hmm.
not the job of a commercial realtor. A commercial realtor is to show you how much money you can make on whatever
Right.
and how much
Yep.
value there is in it. Yeah. When
Uh,
you're selling, you're like, don't be attached to it. Don't care about it anymore. If the other people's money is green, we're all in. We don't care.
mhm.
And then on the other side of it, you're like, hey, look, it really doesn't matter because if this is the one you like, this is the one you love, buy it over the course of the next, and nobody's going to stay in a mortgage for 30 years, almost nobody.
Right.
But if this is the right place for you for the next 10 years, man, you're not going to lose on it, right? There's been no
Mhm.
point in history in a 10-year period that real estate's not worth more on the other end. In Cheyenne, there's no 3-year period in history where you don't come out ahead if you buy on residential real estate. So as long as you're going to stay in a house for 3 years in Cheyenne, you're
Mhm.
not going to lose your money. Now, do you have enough to cover realtor fees, all the things, whatever the case is, repairs? It's going to start being sketchy. But if you're 5 years, yeah, if you're 5 years, guaranteed that you're going to come out on the other side based on history in Cheyenne.
Yeah, it's crazy. Have we? Aren't we? I don't know if we talked about this. Do you do much for investing yourself?
I just bought a threeplex last
Okay.
fall.
Yeah.
So that's my first investment property. I actually found it off market and got him to carry back a $260,000 loan on it at
Nice.
6%. At the time, the interest rates, the commercial rate was about 8.5, and
Hmm.
he could get about 5.5 on a CD if he put it in. So we split the difference, went in at 6%. I
Hmm.
gave him 40 grand down on a 300 and I guess it was 280 he took back. I gave him 40 grand down, so it was about 10%, little over 10%, 12% down on a $320,000 property.
Nice.
Compounded,
You self
compounded.
manage it?
Yeah. When I first bought it, it didn't make money. I was making
Yeah.
like $82 a month on it or something like that.
Yep.
But I now have rents up 800 a month overall, and I'm making about 850 a month on it. So
Nice.
I need to get it out to get it managed. I just haven't done it yet
Hmm.
because I'm
Cool.
still going over and fixing toilet seats and shit and stuff like that sometimes. So, how
Oh man. Yeah.
about
I'd
you?
like
Do you
to.
invest?
What's that?
You invest?
I want to. I haven't yet. I would like to. I'm actually going to look at a flip here later today. I don't I don't think I'll make a move on it, but good to look and learn and
Yep.
just see what's out there.
Is it in pretty rough shape or?
It's a pretty rough shape. As described as it's in a swamp and the trusses in one spot are they've sunk in, so the floor is caving in. Foundation's
Wow.
good though. So I don't think it'll
Location
be
is
a
good. Location is good, but it's in a swamp.
yeah. I don't think it'll be a taker. But it's worth looking.
You ever talk to Scott Hendrickson?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I called him about it. He is crazy.
Dude, he's a machine, dude.
He is. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to be a little more like him, a little bit more like Kevin Andreessen, a little bit. I got a long list of people that, yeah.
Yeah. I called
Um,
him right after, and he'd already been to it, and he'd already crawled down in it, and he gave me the whole story. So
oh, nice.
yeah.
Um, what do you think commercially? I think that there's some opportunity for these. So large commercial spaces for office buildings, all that kind of stuff. We know there's kind of a glut. So one opportunity there is conversion to residential, right? Sometimes costs are too high because they were never intended to have that much plumbing and that much electrical and
Hmm.
all that kind of jazz through them. Strip malls, though, that were built like in the 80s, 70s, and things like that, that are in good locations that need some rehab. Do
Hmm.
you see anything like that up there?
Not available. If we had that, I think I could sell it in a heartbeat, though.
I want to flip it. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think for
No,
what we're
there's
getting for retail space these days.
yeah, especially if you touched up a bit, there's some retail spots just down the street from our office that I've helped that landlord lease a few of them, and they're on the cheaper side for retail because they're just old buildings.
Yeah.
But if you went in there and you touched it, you clean it up and put some money in, I think you could really I don't know how much you could increase it, but I'm sure by a bit. We're
Right.
yeah, we're actually kind of I mean, this is largely Chris because he actually invests. But he's pretty optimistic on office space. He thinks over the coming years.
People
So
coming
that's
back into it.
yeah, because that's been down a little bit since
Yeah.
COVID. Um, but yeah, we've that office building I just listed, it was 5 days on market. So we're
Wow.
we're a little bit optimistic on office. Um,
What
industrials.
what kind of a cap rate on that building, the office building you listed?
Um, if you operated it, if you continue to operate it as the executive suites, like it's just individual offices that you lease out, it was
Okay.
it was pretty decent. It was I want to say an 8% or more. Um,
Okay.
if you got it to uh, full occupancy, just a lot of headache
Okay.
though with that many tenants.
Oh
So
yeah, you're managing. It's like, yeah, no, I get it.
yeah, um, I looked at it a little bit. If I'd been a couple years ahead, I maybe would have looked at it closer. Um, but that's a lot of tenants. That's a lot of headache.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you just got to pay somebody to be in there and just manage the whole thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the executive suites down here, that's downtown. I don't know how full they are now. They used to be about 70% occupied. But then the guy who owned it, also ran Wyoming registered um, agents. So he used the building and some of the offices in it to register corporate uh, LLCs and things like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Wyoming. And Wyoming registered agents had about 2,300 clients or 2,400 registered services that he ran out of the building too. So
Wow.
he didn't always have to have the building full
Yeah.
because he also was running that part of it. They tried to put it on the market. A couple people made some different offers and they never accepted it. But yeah, I thought if you could fill it and always have them full or
Hmm.
95, 96% occupancy, that it would have been a good moneymaker. Running it at 70, you couldn't, it just didn't make, the numbers didn't make sense for what they
Yeah.
wanted for.
It's a little too tight. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not, some of it was fairly nice and some of it was needed fixed up a little bit.
Hmm.
The
For
ones
sure.
in the ones in the basement weren't great. The ones on the main floor were pretty good, but they
Hmm.
were also all open top.
Oh,
So they were dividers that were in there, but when you were in one of the offices, there was always an open top that you got a little
sure.
annoyed about and stuff
Oh,
like that.
I, I feel like I don't know if it's getting more popular, the idea to invest in commercial real estate, but I've got a lot of guys they've done single families or they've done duplexes and they call me and they want to get into commercial. Uh, it's like if we had smaller commercial strip malls or
Yeah,
something like below 1 million, there's a bunch of
yeah,
guys who want them. It's just there's not much out there like that because if you need a 20 to 30% down payment, that's a lot of upfront capital for $1 million building. So
yeah. Because when
yeah,
you're coming out of residential, I mean, if you're coming out with a $300,000 chunk, that's a pretty good chunk.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I don't know.
Is there any, so we talked about this, right? Restaurant space up there?
Um, no, I'm actually talking to Danny right now. We found one off market um that called us downtown. So we're working on that. We might get them in there. But again, it was an off market. So
Gotcha.
there's
Yeah, one of the ones that we showed him down, three of the ones that we showed him down here were off market at the time.
yep.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
on market there's practically nothing.
yeah, yeah. And I think that if there is something that comes up, there's 20 people waiting on a list that these people have. They're like, look, if you ever get anything, you ever want to sell it, you ever want to do something, call me.
Right. Yeah. This one next door that we kind of unofficially listed, all we did was put a little window sign on there while we were
Yeah,
still working on paperwork. And we
yeah,
had just call after call on that one. It was just
yeah.
yeah, a little window sign was it. Yeah, it was crazy.
When you say paperwork, you're talking about like all the restaurant stuff and everything?
Oh, I mean, I don't remember what the specifics were. I don't know if we'd signed a listing agreement, but they wanted us to wait a few weeks to like actually put it out there. That might
Gotcha.
have been what it was. So we put a sign up, but they didn't want us to put on the MLS yet. And,
Gotcha.
and yeah, even we got leads before just off of a little window sign. Yeah,
Nice. Crazy.
you know.
Crazy.
Well, I
Uh,
appreciate you taking time to just kind of chat and
oh, dude,
bounce ideas.
it's just one of those things that I got to get smarter every day because I'm not very smart sometimes. So, yeah. And
I
I like new approaches and I like different things and I don't do a lot of commercial. I agree with you that commercial takes all the emotion, all the other stuff out of it, which I'd be good with. I just
mhm,
don't know enough about it to feel super comfortable. So having good conversation about it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's the same stuff, just
mhm,
a different set of rules sort of apply for what they're looking for, what you got going on. I got stuck in a fourplex comping versus fourplex uh, NOI cap rate kind of thing,
sure,
right? And in our market, I found out because there's a fourplex that I'm trying to list that's a 3 bed, 2 bath in one unit and 3 bed, 1 bath in the other three. And they're rented for 1450, 1250, 1250, and 1250. And he was using it as Airbnbs. And I can make the math numbers work all day long at like 650, 670. But I can't hardly, it's hard to comp that fourplex against anything else because
mhm,
everything else is 2 1s or brand new 3 1s or 3 2s.
mhm,
So, and talking to appraisers and talking to whatever, and they're like, you got to find comps. If you just give me math numbers, your appraisal is not going to come in. And I'm like, ah. So I went back and there's not a lot of fourplexes selling down here, at least anyway. Six in
there's
the last 6 months, maybe 12 in the last year.
yeah, we've had a half dozen maybe in the past year, maybe.
And 20 of those for us are brand new ones they built down on the south side of town.
Okay.
We're selling for 775.
Jeez. Huh.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm running my numbers and I'm thinking, yeah, we're good. Let's list it at that price. And then you talk to the appraisers and they're like, you got to comp it too. And I'm like, you guys suck.
That's an awkward thing about duplexes to fourplexes is
Yep.
technically they are based off of comps. Like I think, yeah, that's how the appraisers do it. It's
Yeah.
comps, but unless you're house hacking it, you're really looking at it from an income approach,
Yep.
like in reality. So yeah, those are weird.
Yeah, and honestly, I just don't know. Apparently, different places across the country, some places are a little more slanted towards being able to use an income approach on them, and then places that are smaller and like us, so you have to comp them. So if you were in Tennessee, maybe somewhere, you might be able to use just the income approach and sell it to somebody. But yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We've got some that are sitting on the market down here that are just sitting. Nobody's even looking at anymore.
Mhm.
So we'll see. We'll see how they do.
Appraisers, fun.
That's what you got to do. You got to convince the wife that you need to house hack a fourplex.
I would love to, but that's not happening. That would have been my plan. That would have been my plan if I was still a still a bachelor. But you
Dude,
know,
I tell you what, that's what I say. I say, well, because my wife and I lived in an apartment for the first I don't know, 4 years we were married before we bought a house. And I just kept thinking, I keep thinking now, God, 25 years ago, if we had just bought a fourplex,
Yep.
lived in one of the apartments, moved on to the next, we'd probably have 25 buildings now,
I
right?
know it's crazy. Yeah.
25 buildings, 25 years of equity, 25 years of mortgage pay down on the
Hmm.
first one, and then just staggered over the course of whatever. And it would have been the same thing we were living in at the time. We were
Yeah.
living in a fourplex, in one of the units on a fourplex. So, yeah,
Oh,
if I could go back and make my younger self way smarter, it would be awesome.
I feel that.
Cool, man. Well, hey, you
Yep.
have a great weekend. Thank you for just chilling with me and having a little bit of conversation.
Absolutely. I, I'm still trying to learn as much as I can. Every day I feel like I'm in over my head. So
Me too, buddy. Me too.
yeah. All
All
right.
right, man.
Have a
You
good
have a great
weekend.
weekend. Bye.